Welcome back, family. I want to talk about something that I'm actually making an Instagram video about when it comes to success, when it comes to being a creative, especially even an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you want to do. It takes a great deal of sacrifice in order to be great at anything, right? Especially for a creator. And I wanted to start this video with a quote that I actually used in a book that I recently wrote. And it goes like this. The phone gives us a lot, but it takes away three key elements of discovery: loneliness, uncertainty, and boredom. Those have always been where creative ideas come from. By Lynda Barry. The crazy thing about that one quote is most people are distracting themselves. And this specific instance, the phone, right? She's talking about the phone. And in the book, I'm talking about putting your phone away and locking it up in the box. Don't be afraid of boredom. And, I'm talking about creativity and things of that nature. But to go even deeper, right? What are the things that are you giving up in order to level up? You want to make $100,000 in a year. You want to make 10K months, which is really the first stepping stone. It gets way better than that. But most people are stuck between $2,000 to $5,000 a month. And even just making $7,000 to $10,000 a month, you're like in the top 5% of the entire world, right? So it's the few versus the many. So you got to ask yourself, what are most people doing? And then do the opposite. Because most people are broke. Most people think a certain way. Most people don't think outside of the box. One of the biggest realizations for me was giving up alcohol. Because that was the golden thing for me. That was never really a big deal. I'm a very functional alcoholic, right? Because it never really got bad for me. I never considered myself like an alcoholic for real. I'm just saying that because it was never a problem. I could drink in the morning and crush calls, close deals. I mean, my whole way up to my first 25, 30K months, I was drinking every day. No problem. I'm the friendliest. I could get on calls. I could close deals. I could party and still crush it and still deliver every single time because I did put in that much work into my skill and my craft where what's a drink gonna do, right? I gave up a lot of things though, right? In the beginning, it was first I gave up time with people that weren't necessarily adding to my vision, right? If they don't see your vision, they're holding you back. It took me a while to see that, right? Even family in certain cases. They didn't see me for where I was going. They saw me for who I was, which makes perfect sense. So for season, you're going to have to cut all those people off because you're going to recreate yourself. You're going to evolve. You're going to grow to the point where the next time they see you, they might not even recognize you. You talk different. You walk different. You think different. You have a completely different skill set, and it's going to show in your body. It's going to show in how you move. And that was one of the sacrifices I had to make. Okay, I sacrificed women, right? As a man, we're always thinking about girls. And I had to get to the point where I just didn't care about that. Stop chasing. The only thing I wanted to be was on my purpose. The only thing I wanted to chase was my purpose. And that got me so far. And as I'm locked in, I'm focused on my skill set. Weed was never really a problem for me. I get inspired off of weed, but I never felt the need to buy weed. And I just hate the rolling up and having to go outside. And like that whole, it's just, if people have it, I'll smoke it. It was never really a big deal for me. But I do see how it holds people back because it could be anything, porn. I never saw a problem with porn. I mean, I did see a problem when I was in like college, but then I just cut it off. I was like, okay, like weirdos do this. I don't want to be like looking at girls or whatever and in that light. Like it was just too much. And, you know, a handful of times I do it here and there. But I was able to get rid of that. That was actually that's hard for guys, but I was able to do that. And alcohol was a sneaky one. Alcohol is a sneaky little one that it's just so socially acceptable. It's so normal, right? Like porn is different because like you do it in the dark. Nobody really knows you're doing it. That's probably harder. But for me, like I already had girls or whatever. It just wasn't a big deal for me. I was just like, whatever. But when it came to alcohol, it's so socially acceptable and it's so normalized everywhere you go. Anytime past 9 p.m., 10 p.m., you can't get a smoothie. You could barely get food, but you could always drink. Everywhere you go, first thing, drink. When I stopped drinking for the first time, people looked at me like I felt weird. And it was like the craziest thing. It was like I broke out of the matrix because people were just like, what? You're not drinking? You're not this, you're not that. And that made me want to stop more because I'm like, bro, you don't really realize it till you stop. And the reason why I stopped was because on my way to success, I didn't drink so much. They say when you broke, you ponder, and when you're rich, you party, right? So on my way up, I was always thinking, I was journaling, I was always getting better, I was always grinding, I was always trying to close deals, network, whatever it may be. When I became more successful and I'm, you know, living in these penthouses, I'm making all this money, I didn't have to chase girls, but I had girls and I had every single thing that I wanted, and it was so accessible and it was just so normal. And I started to notice a few things. I would embarrass myself in certain situations where, you know, like, and not so much embarrass myself, just be myself like I would around family and people that I trust. But sometimes in business, you don't want to show people that side of you, not just everybody. Again, that's for people that you trust. And, you know, I would end up embarrassed after, you know, showing too much love, being too friendly, or, you know, versus before, I wasn't so friendly. I was just trying to close deals. I was just trying to add value. I was just trying to make connections to get to the next level, next level. Once I got to a certain point, it was all fun and it was all, you know, and that's not what life is. As a man, you got to stay on your purpose, no matter what level you're at, or a woman who has a vision, right? Anybody who has a vision, a specific vision, you have to stay on your purpose. You can't be lacking, right? You can't be slipping, right? And I'm way too young to be, I mean, some people think I'm young enough to mess up, but no, I'm young enough to, these are my years where I could just lock in and get so way ahead of everybody else, especially since I'm already ahead of everybody else. And I noticed that drinking, I would embarrass myself, or I would start to feel like I would start to do things. I would, you know, not chasing girls again, but wasting time on girls more than I probably would. It was nights where my head is spinning and I hate that feeling. There was nothing, there's no net positive to drinking, like zero, right? You get this false sense of confidence. Your head is spinning. There's no advantage. You have no edge when you're drinking, right? Some people think you do because of that false sense of confidence, but and then where does it, like, if you can't be that person when you're sober, that means you have to grow, not mask it. And I noticed that I was just drinking way too much, and not nearly as much as probably the average person still. Because again, I wouldn't even say I was alcoholic. It was just what I would do more than anything else that wasn't productive, that wasn't a net positive. And one day I just had a feeling, maybe it was God, maybe it was, I don't know. I remember on this day, it was my son's birthday, and I actually ordered a bunch of drinks. When the drinks came, I was like, I don't drink anymore. What am I? Everybody's like, what do you mean you don't drink anymore? What do you ordered the drinks? Oh, no, I just had this feeling. It was like, I always had it in my mind that I wanted to stop, slow down. I would see podcasts, Huberman, and like all these mentors that I look up to. And I never really took action on it. I knew I would slow down and lock in one day, whatever that was. But that moment, it was like right now. And everybody thought I was tripping because it was a party or whatever. But I was like, I don't drink anymore. I guess it's the day. I mean, I said that to myself. I don't like to explain myself to people because then they'll just, it's not a debate. It's not, And that very day, I noticed a shift in just everything. Like, everybody is just getting sloppy and I'm just like bored. Usually when you drink, it masks all of those feelings of boredom. Again, it goes back to the quote. It's like there's no boredom, there's no loneliness, there's no pondering or thought. And I was like, wow, this is already kind of weird. Like, I probably should, but I didn't feel like I wanted to drink. I knew it was time. And the feeling was to only stop for a year, cold turkey, no drinking. And it was in that year, I ended up traveling to like 10, 15 countries, working all around the world, doing conventions, been a part of so many celebrations. And, all my friends are rich. So one of the biggest things that we do is go out and network and go to the club. And all of these times I'm going out and I'm just not drinking. And I noticed that I didn't even want to be at those places most of the time, other than networking, other than the old me. The old me was back who was very logical and who would close deals, who was playing chess and just peeping game and understanding the environment on a way higher level to where I could just have an edge on everything. And it's really benefited me, right? And not just in business and in business strategy and stuff like that, but even just physically. Like, I remember we'd go out for an entire night and everybody's head is spinning. They're like passing out. And then for what? It's like, my bros, they had girlfriends that weren't in town, so they're just going back to sleep. It's not even like they're going to have a crazy night with their girl or anything. It's just like, I'm just going to let my head spin until I fall asleep and wake up late and feel like shit. And I'm not drinking, so I'm like bored. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. I got into the best shape of my life. I would read books. I would study. I would figure out my next move. And this just kept getting me ahead. And I started just feeling like I was just learning more. Yes, I would have moments of boredom or loneliness or whatever, but these were the moments that helped me evolve. And it was in these moments where I would have other urges. Like, it made me want to eat more, I guess. It made me want to, I don't know, maybe you'd want to watch some bad internet, or maybe you'd want to like fill it with something else. But I didn't really feel that so much. It just made me, because I kind of killed all that out already, but I would think about it more than I used to. But not really, because when I drank, it was actually worse. When I drank, I would just do it. But when I wasn't drinking, I would just notice the feeling of wanting to do it, but still not do it. And it made me stronger. Socially, it made me stronger. I'd be in the club. My social skills went so up. Like, talking to anybody, guys, girls, whoever. I mean, I realize I'm not interested in doing business or even a relationship with any girl in the club, because they're just sloppy. Everybody look like zombies. They're just, going with the motions. And I'm not saying you can't have fun. You can have fun with people that you trust, and celebrate in certain moments. Because, today, after that year, I decided that I never want to drink. Like my frequency just went way too high. I can never go back to that, just getting sloppy drunk and with people that I don't know, or just going out to go out. It just doesn't make sense for me anymore because of the things that I've experienced. I was so bored. Guys, yesterday I just became a officially published author. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't take that year off. I learned how to type with my hands, like fully type. I used to type with 2 fingers. Like, these are just 2 little things, right? Because there's so much bigger things that happened out of this. I started creating more. I made so many short films. I used to always love shooting short films in high school. I went to an art school. I forgot about that because I was so busy. Again, I had to let the bad internet go. I had to let the weed go, right? And there's nothing wrong with these things, but with a balance. I had to let the alcohol go, but the alcohol was just the most normalized for me. So that was the sneaky one, like I said. And what I noticed was, like, all of these things got done within the past year since I quit. Cold turkey. Because I was able to contemplate at night where everybody's passing out, because I'll still go out and I still have a lot of fun. Okay, I mean, we was in strip clubs. We was in the biggest clubs, the biggest concerts in the world. We saw Drake. We saw, we was everywhere. And I'm talking worldwide, right? We was in Costa Rica, Italy, California, everywhere around the world. The cool thing was I don't drink, so everybody trusted me more. That was another thing that I noticed. Everybody trusted me more. All right? Hey, take the Bentley. Hey, take the Rolls. It opens so many doors for me. Not even just like driving cool cars, but like it showed me just my real potential. It showed me the dark side of me that I guess a lot of us avoid when we indulge in these addictions. And one of the biggest addictions now is social media. That's probably one of the things that I've been conscious about, and it's because of, now that drinking, I'm over that. Social media, I see how it's really bad for not just me, but everybody. And a lot of us distract ourselves from what our true purpose is, from what we really want to do, because of these distractions. And again, there's no, I'll pop champagne and I'll drink a glass of wine. I'll drink a shot here and there. Now that I stopped the whole cold turkey thing, but I realized I ended up staying cold turkey for at least like another 6 months because I just fell so in love with just not drinking. And then even still, for the most part, I'll go out and I don't want to drink. I don't want, there's no desire to drink. It doesn't make me feel good. Like, I'm so in love with being conscious of my life and where I'm going, and in tune with my imagination and my intention and what I want to create out of this life. And seeing these creations come to life. Again, this is crazy to me. I closed some of the biggest deals, 20K months on one client, 15K months, some huge partnerships. And a part of that was probably because of the trust and the discipline that they saw in me, right? Because they, so many people saw me focused when everybody wasn't focused. So many people, and these were the things that, looking back, got me to my first 10K months, 25K months. But again, when you're broke, you ponder. When you're rich, you party. A lot of us have to go through this in order to learn it. So whatever phase you are in your life, don't beat yourself up about it. I don't regret I don't regret anything. I had a lot of fun, but I was very reckless, very, very reckless. And I think everything is written and everything happens for a reason, because it wasn't until I had my own children to where I had this epiphany. It was one time where I really, really realized that I wanted to stop, because when you have a kid, right? My first son, Osias, it gives you a feeling of purpose. It gives you a feeling of being a bigger leader. I was already a leader to thousands of people who I would mentor and teach. And when you have a son or a daughter or whatever, when you become a father, you start to look at life like, who is my son looking up to? Like, what is the example that I'm leaving for my son? And if I ever got sloppy or embarrassed myself in any type of way, or just did something stupid, like not stoic or emotional, or things that are just not of my character, not my best, highest self, I would just imagine, like, what if my son saw that side of me? Like, that's not the example that I want to leave, right? And I realized that I was like, I gotta be my absolute best self, because I have to be the one that, I have to be the hero in this story. I have to be the legend in this. That's what a legacy is, right? You become a legend and you pass it down. And that gave me so much clarity. That gave me so much purpose. That gave me so much resilience. And it was when I stopped, I got into full creation mode. And there's going to be moments where, if you stop, and it might not be alcohol, right? Because again, like I said, for me, it was never a bad thing. It never got detrimental. I don't drink and start beating women, or there's crazy stories out there doing. And even when I say embarrass myself, it's like had too much fun. It was a little too reckless, right? It's not even like nothing crazy, my too much fun is probably stuff that people wish they can do, but it's reckless at the end of the day. And once you get it out of your system, it's just like, all right, now what is my purpose? What am I really here for? And it might not be alcohol, it could be weed. When you stop, why are you chasing that distraction so much? What are you scared to face? Because it's those things that we're scared to face. On the other side of that is the person that we truly want to become. On the other side of those fears, on the other side of, even just writing this book, that was a scary thing for me. I don't know if it's generational curses or like whatever it could be, but such a small thing. Looking now that it's done, it's like amazing. It's the best feeling in the world, but getting it done was so hard. I launched my own community, which is going really good. I landed some of the craziest partnerships. I've driven the craziest results in other people's businesses. And the reason why is because I was able to step into the unknown and just get comfortable there. I was able to step into the darkness and get comfortable there and become a light and create from there. Because a lot of people don't want to step into that because it does get lonely. You could find yourself thinking crazy things, but you have to be aware of that, right? You could step into just uncertainty, loneliness, again, just like the quote that we started with. You're going to feel things that maybe you don't want to feel, but you need to feel because it's there to teach you something. Your emotions are just indicators. And when you run from them with distractions, when you run from them with social media, when you run from them with alcohol, you're only delaying your progress. And I don't know what phase you're in right now, right? Because I tend to learn things the hard way. But as long as you learn, maybe I had to learn the hard way to be able to inspire others. So yeah, I had a lot of fun, but life is not about fun. as a man is like, forget who gives a shit about fun. At the end of the day, it's like, what do you have to show? Like, are you able to provide? Are you able to do things that haven't been done? What are you doing that's great? How have you set the bar higher for your community, for your family? For your family first, right? For yourself by beating, yourself by getting these things done and doing what you have to do. But and then elevating the bar for your family. And once you do that, you inspire your family, you can start inspiring a community. And then you could be great to the world. But you can't do that until you conquer yourself first. So it's very interesting how, mainstream media, I mean, you listen to any song, it's to promote all the degenerate bullshit of, social media, sex, alcohol, and it just goes on. And it's normalized in this day and age. But if you think about it, who wants to be normal? Observe the masses and do the opposite, because the masses are broke. The masses haven't mastered anything. They have no skill sets. They add no value to the world. They're just consumers. I want there to be a producer. Okay? And you don't produce under the influence of anything. You produce under the influence of God, under the influence of your higher self, your inner self, right? So these were the things and these were the relevant revelations that I've started to come across when I let go of these things, these lower frequency things. And it wasn't until like 3-4 months in where I really started to feel the frequency of everything. It heightened all of my senses. That was the last thing I'll probably touch on. Like, all of my senses got heightened. My intuition got higher. My dreams became clearer. Food just started tasting better. Alcohol does something to your brain though. It like desensitizes your brain a little bit. And yeah, that was a huge thing for me. Sex became crazier, right? There's no feeling like being able to just have powerful, godly sex sober, and your woman sober too. It's nothing like that, right? You got to get girls drunk in order to let them have that attraction for you, or let them feel that desire towards you. You haven't really mastered the game. And not just the game with women, the game of life, because it all comes full circle. You stay on your purpose, you win in every endeavor. And those were the things that I started to realize, and I became stronger. My mindset became stronger. Everything elevated. So it was my senses, right? I became more in tune with me, with my thoughts. And as crazy as they could be sometimes, it's like being aware of them and being able to confront them is a lot better than distracting yourself with any type of substance. So giving up the alcohol for try it. I mean, what I did was I let it go for a year. That was my promise to myself. Cold turkey, stopped, didn't take one sip of alcohol. No matter, and I was in the clubs a lot. I was in a lot of celebrations, events, things you couldn't even dream of. Like Dubai, right? I got invited to Dubai, all expenses paid for, staying at Atlantis. I'm in the beach clubs, drinks on the house, with all my friends and all, these people. And that's just one example. That, like, it goes on and on. I was in Costa Rica, same thing, drinks on the house, boom. Like, we're staying at the W in the middle of the jungle, at the top of the jungle. It's just like beautiful. Imagine just staying away from drink. These are things that's like, I know God was testing me. All right, in the clubs with some of the most beautiful women. The girls are worse. The girls drink. I'm like, yo, babe, chill. It's okay. Right. And it's funny because even girls, not just the guys, like I said, even the girls, they start to look at you different. Right. Because you don't need it. And you're still smooth without it. And you're still just like you're in tune. You're in tune with your power. And you don't want to weaken that power once you start to realize this, because it takes a while. It was a few months in where I really started to notice. And maybe it was accumulation of all the things that I gave up, because for me, alcohol was kind of like the last one. Like I said, that was the sneaky one. So for you, maybe it's not alcohol. Maybe it is. Cut it out. But also, you know, I know people, they can't let go of weed for a while. And sometimes I wonder why. Like, just let it go for a year, see what happens. Some people, it could be porn. Some people, it could be, you know, a mix. You know, and I'm not saying it's all going to happen at once, right? Because when I learned about, you know, the bad internet, let's just call it that, I was able to let go of that. When I learned weed, I was able to let go of that. So when I finally got to the alcohol, the woman, I was able to let go of that. When I got to the alcohol, and these are just my vices, everybody's vices are different. That was just, not that it was hard, but it was just normalized. It was just, and I never saw it as a problem, so why would I ever give it up? But and then, like I said, once I started to feel like, okay, I want to be great, I know I have a higher purpose. I know it's my responsibility. I feel like the chosen one. I feel like if anybody's going to do these grand things for the family, for the community, for the world, God gave me that vision, so it has to be me. So, you know, I have to see it through. And now that I have a son, like, who do I want him to see me as? A person who can't even let go of this and that? Or a person who does exactly what he says and runs it up to infinity? So it's crazy. So I don't know if this is supposed to touch one person or a few people, but I hope this makes a change in whatever you're thinking right now, because that's just my personal experience, right? We could get super scientific about it and why this works and that works, but that's why I stopped drinking. That's when I stopped drinking. And all the things that came out of it is absolutely incredible. You know, like when I was still distracted, I was able to hit 10, 15, 20, 25K a month. Now, oh man, we're just getting started. So I feel like I'm reversing, like I'm getting younger and I'm getting more inspired, like a kid again. So yeah, family, let me know what you think about that. Let me know if you guys have similar experiences, if this is something that's been on your mind, if you find this helpful. But I just want to share what's helpful for me. Hopefully it helps you. I'm going to be dropping more tips on, you know, actual creations in terms of content, in terms of business, and let's just see where this goes. I've been getting a lot of new subscribers. I've been getting a lot of new subscribers, and it's exciting. I guess you guys resonate with the things that I'm putting out there. So let's run it up. Let me know what you want to see more of, but I'm just going to share whatever I feel like makes sense, you know? And if you guys want to check out my book, if you're a creator, this is a comprehensive guide to video and business, and it's really dope. Check this out. Over 200 pages of straight value on business, on brand, and video. Content creation, exactly how I initially ran it up in this whole game. So let's run it up. I'm going to drop a lot of videos on topics from the book. Join my exclusive community if you want to run it up, if you want a community, people hold you accountable, in any of these things, right? In the mindset, in life, in business, and creating and putting yourself out there and just hitting new levels. That's what this is all about. That's what this studio is all about. This page is about. We're going to run it up, family. See you on the next video.